Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. My name is Jesse Milestone, and I'm here today to answer what should be a very simple question, but is apparently not. And that question is, what the frack is up with Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy? Seems like this should be a simple thing. Oh, this rumor got blown out of proportion that he's not doing it, and he was like, no, I'm totes doing it, and the end. All right, that should be the end of it, right? And yet, with some simple sleuthing, I have uncovered a couple of very interesting details that are definitely worth going over that delightfully point in the direction of Rian Johnson ain't getting his trilogy. So, let's go over the facts, all right? So the facts, the minutia is that somebody reported, Rian Johnson, because of a statement made by Bob Iger talking about the future of Star Wars and how, we're not certain about what's going to happen. There are going to be movies, Benioff and Weiss, for example, definitely working on movies, and talked a bunch about Benioff and Weiss as the sort of seeming like that was the only sure future project, which made everyone start saying, Rian Johnson's trilogy's canceled. And Rian Johnson's like, bitch, please, I'm working on it. So everyone's like, oh, no, clearly they're, obviously Benioff and Weiss must just be further along in the production or the pre-production than Rian Johnson is, and that's why. And if you actually look at it, though, that is not really the case. So Rian Johnson claims, I'm working on the writing for this, and Lucasfilm has claimed, somebody interrelated to Lucasfilm made a statement to the ilk of Rian Johnson is definitely on board for at least the first of this new trilogy. So already we're talking demotion, right? Because this was going to be his trilogy. Now, supposedly he's still writing the story arc for all three of them and is working on that right now. But this is supposed to be his trilogy. So at the very least, I feel confident that he's suffering a serious demotion right now. We're talking this is no longer certain that he is the helmsman and the sole proprietor of this new trilogy. We now have seen that he is surely going to be on the first one, and it'll be his concept, so we'll see who's in the next one. So that right there, we can just stop there. That's promising news, right? Especially because nothing is certain right now. This is Hollywood, people. Nothing is certain until it is certain, and I don't think that the future of Rian Johnson's trilogy is going to be set in stone one way or the other until after episode 9 comes out. Now, that's not to say if 9 is successful that it will guarantee the trilogy. In fact, it could be just the opposite. It could be that if 9 is successful, if 9 works better, if it is less controversial, that people realize, maybe Rian Johnson wasn't such a good idea to trust for the Star Wars franchise. So in that way, that might be a better thing for Rian Johnson's failed future in Star Wars for Episode 9 to work, at least to be better than The Last Jedi, which of course it's going to be, because how could it possibly be worse? Now, granted, I said that after The Force Awakens, going into The Last Jedi, so I should be careful because I might end up eating my words. Anyway, I digress. So those are the Rian Johnson-based facts. Is we're seeing a future that is not certain at all, and there's some idiotic, right? It was on Collider was like, we could see the first Rian Johnson movie as early as 2020. Are you an idiot? Are you retarded? Probably. Based on the article you wrote, you probably have some problems in your brain with thinking thoughts and making words that make sense, because he is in a planning state. This is like pre-production. We're not even location scouting, casting, and all that. That's pre-production. We're in the planning stages. We are in the sketch rough draft phase. Though, as we all know, Rian Johnson can just spit out a rough draft and not have to edit it whatsoever. His first draft is just golden. So we could move very quickly from I have no idea what I'm writing about to bam, I wrote the whole trilogy, bitches, which would be awful. But anyway, even if we were even if that happens in the next month and we go into pre-production right away, there's still months of pre-production that go into making a Star Wars film. And then there are at least a couple of months, probably several, of production, of actual on-location filming, and then there are many, many more months of post-production, because you're talking about a film that is probably going to need reshoots, that is going to go through a lot of editing, that's going to need a ton of special effects. You're talking about something that is going to need full-on, CGI aliens and things like that, theoretically, even though the new Disney Star Wars doesn't believe in aliens, right? So to say that a Star Wars film that is not even in pre-production, that hasn't even been officially announced, is going to come out next year is horribly naive. And if that is to happen, this is going to be the most budget garbage Star Wars film that has ever been made. Look out, Last Jedi. Rian Johnson is going to do himself one better. Wow. Anyway, so those are the Rian Johnson facts, right? Nothing is set in stone. Nothing is solid. In fact, there is definitely evidence to indicate just from that alone that perhaps his role and Disney's faith in him to helm a trilogy has diminished. So hooray for that. And then we move on to the other interesting points, right? The interesting points regarding Benioff and Weiss. Because when Benioff and Weiss were first announced on the Star Wars project, correct me if I'm wrong, the initial discussion was, oh, they're going to do a Star Wars TV show, and this is going to be the first R-rated Star Wars TV show. It's going to be exciting. They're going to do this, intense adult Star Wars, and that was like the rumor anyway, or the discussion, or maybe the initial idea, the initial pitch. And now we're talking movies. Benioff and Weiss are now confirmed for movies, and in fact, so they were working on this other controversial project for HBO, Confederate, and that's been put on hold because they're finishing up with this season of Game of Thrones and they're going to jump into Star Wars. And somebody from HBO who's working with them on Confederate specifically pointedly said out loud that the reason that they're not going to do this is because they're working on 3 movies. 3 movies is what he said. Now, maybe he doesn't know, maybe it's just speculation, whatnot, but this certainly sounds like a trilogy. So we're talking timelines here. The idea is Rian Johnson does not have enough time to commit to a project until he's finished with his post-production for some stupid film that no one is going to see. So that's happening, and then he's going to jump in hardcore into making a Star Wars movie. Benioff and Weiss are going to be finishing about the same time with Game of Thrones, and then they're going to jump in hardcore to their Star Wars project. And now they're both making Star Wars movies set in new parts of the galaxy with totally new characters, and they're both making trilogies. That seems a little weird. That seems a little redundant. That seems a little bit much of a risk for a company that's not even willing to make a spin-off, that's not even willing to go with the Obi-Wan starring Ewan McGregor spin-off, which of any spin-off is the surest slam dunk that they could have gone for. They're not willing to take that risk, so they're going to trust groups of people to just branch out on their own and write a completely new story in the Star Wars universe. Unless Lucasfilm has really done a 180, that seems highly unlikely. So what you're looking at here, I just also, by side note, I think it's funny. So Slash Film was the one that reported, one of the places, including Collider, that reported that Rian Johnson is absolutely still doing his trilogy, even though 3 days before they were also the ones that reported about the Benioff and Weiss potential trilogy. Are Benioff and Weiss doing a trilogy? It certainly sounds like they're doing a trilogy. So what could be the other possible answer here? So we think Rian Johnson might be doing a trilogy, Benioff and Weiss might be doing a trilogy. Could it be possible that Benioff and Weiss is actually going to do the trilogy that Rian Johnson was promised? Bam! Bingo! Mic drop. So my guess is that Rian Johnson is still attached to it, but again, in these very pre-production ways, and we've already seen Lucasfilm kind of changing direction from its original writing staff, and we don't know if that's going to continue or not, but certainly there's some changes happening at Lucasfilm. There's some big changes happening there, and perhaps we're steering away from this. Maybe they're sitting down with Rian Johnson, whoever's there who likes him, is let's spitball, let's make some ideas, let's put a little bit of the script together. But ultimately, even if he's the one who comes up with the idea for it, if it goes to Benioff and Weiss, they'll have the power to change it, to recreate it, to make it better. And look, there's evidence to suggest that Rian Johnson somewhere in his head has a brain and has certain ideas that might be fun come to life on screen. And if you take those away from them from him in infancy, and you have them raised by masters like Benioff and Weiss, now we're talking. Now we're talking about a Star Wars trilogy that I might actually go to see. So that, you heard it here first, is my theory, is that this Rian Johnson supposed trilogy, perhaps he's going to have a creative consultant role or a created by role or something like that within it. But I mark my words, Benioff and Weiss are the ones who are actually going to be making this promised trilogy set elsewhere in the galaxy with their fun new cast of characters. And I personally cannot wait. I think that's a smashing idea, and I'm quite looking forward to it. Are you? What do you guys think? Sound logic here? Maybe, maybe not. Post your thoughts below. Have you heard anything? Tell me about it. If you like this video, there's a button for that. Oh, press that like button so that everyone can know that we are the master race. Whoever clicks that like button is now part of the master race. It really doesn't matter what you look like or what your background is. If you press my like button, you are now part of the master race. It's the Jesse race. Anyway, also, if you want to get more involved in this channel, if you want to help it out, help support this channel, see it grow, etc., click the Getting Involved with Me video. It will point you to all of the links and stuff that you need to know to help be a bigger part of this community and support me. Things like Patreon, t-shirts, following me on Instagram, etc., etc. It all helps. Sharing videos helps more than you know. So do those things, and we'll talk again very soon. Bye.